Hi everybody, here is a homework help video to help you with the 8-4 practice. I know starting out using this formula, it's a little scary, a little tricky, but hopefully with some practice it gets a little easier. So we are on page 11 in your packet. You just have these 4 to do, and we're using this formula. Okay, so again, this is, if I were to type this into y equals the left-hand side, I would see at least one of the zeros. All right, this is the algebraic way to figure it out. And I like this better than any of the other methods because it works every single time. Now, so the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure everything is on the left. All right, sorry for the phone ringing there. All right, so back to this. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to get everything to the left. All right, if it says equals 0, you're good to go. And all 4 of these are that way, so we'll just practice using the formula. So the first thing you want to do is figure out what a, b, and c are. A is the number in front of x squared, b is the number in front of x, c is the number by itself, the constant. All right, and then we're going to use our formula. All right, x equals negative b, so I'm just going to start by writing that down. X, get out of there, equals, all right, it's negative b, and b is negative. So if I do negative 9, it's going to end up being 9 plus or minus, this thing can go away anytime, there we go, 9 plus or minus b squared. Now, it's a negative, so make sure you put it in parentheses. All right, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 4. And then the whole thing goes over 2 times a, which would be 2 times 2. All right, so all I did is I took the a, b, and c out of our function of our equation, which is given to you on any regions. You don't have to memorize this thing. And I replaced it with the values. So now we're just going to simplify this down. I know it looks scary, but we're going to do one step at a time. So I'm going to keep this 9, the plus and the minus, and the square root we're going to shrink down in our next step. And then in the denominator, instead of writing 2 times 2, we'll write 4. So now what we want to do is figure out what's under the square root. And we're not going to type the square root into our calculator. We're just going to type in what's underneath the square root. So, well, that's funny. I already have it in there. So parentheses, negative 9 squared minus 4 times 2 times 4. And you get 49. Okay? So now we're going to decide, is this a perfect square? Yeah, the square root of 49 is 7. So instead of writing the square root of 49, we're just going to write just plain old 7. If you don't know what the square root is, put it in your calculator. Second, x squared, 49, 7. All right. So now we split it up because you have a plus to deal with and a minus. So we're going to do 9 plus 7 divided by 4 and 9 minus 7 divided by 4. All right, so the first 0 is x equals 9 plus 7 all over 4. And then the other one's going to be 9 minus 7 divided by 4. And shrink it down. If you want, put the whole thing in, or you could do 9 plus 7 and then divide by 4. If you want to do the whole fraction, alpha y equals, enter, 9 plus 7 divided by 4 is 4, right? Because 16 divided by 4 is 4. The other one, 9 minus 7 is negative 2 divided by 4, which is it's positive 2. What am I thinking? Which simplifies to 1/2. If I were to have typed that initial problem into my calculator, 2x squared minus 9x plus 4, and said, what are the zeros? Well, I can see it hits 4, but I can't tell what that is. Maybe it's a half, maybe it's 3/4, but you just found it right here. Here's your one root, 4, and here's your other root, 1/2. All right. So that's why we can't always use the graph, because we can't always tell if it's not a whole number, you can't tell what the fraction is. Okay, it says equals 0. So the first thing, A is going to be 5, B is 4, and C is -1. All right, so we're going to take it and plug it in. So x equals, instead of -b, -4. Plus or minus, instead of b squared, 4 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 5, times c, which is -1. All divided by 2 times a, 2 times 5. The hardest part is just writing it in. Now we're just going to simplify. All right, I'm going to leave my -4. I'm going to leave my plus and minus. I'm going to shrink that square root down. And instead of in the denominator having 2 times 5, we're just going to write 10. All right, so, and then again, we're just going to put in what's underneath the square root. We're not going to put in the whole thing. Okay, time for the calculator. 4 squared minus 4 times 5 times -1. Exactly as it's written underneath there. 36. Awesome, because that's perfect square, right? Square root of 36 is 6, but if you're not sure, second x squared to bring up your square root. 36, 6. Awesome, let's go to work. So, square root of 36 is just 6. So when we split this up, we're going to have x equals -4 plus 6 over 10. And then we're going to have x equals -4 minus 6 over 10. All right. -4 plus 6 is 2 over 10. And if you put that into your calculator, you're going to get 1/5. Or 0.20 is fine. This, you're going to get -10 over 10. If you put that into your calculator, you get -1. All right. And again, factoring works for these as well. But factoring can be tricky. You might mix up a sign or something like that. If you just substitute it into this, it works every time. Even when we get into imaginary numbers in Algebra 2, it works every time. You're going to use it quite a bit then. All right, a couple more. If you feel comfortable doing this on your own, go for it, and then just check my answers as you go. A equals 2, B equals 1 if there's nothing there, and C equals -21. So x equals -b, which would be -1, plus or minus b squared, 1 squared minus 4 times a times c. All divided by 2 times a. And again, you're just copying it from this formula and replacing the a, b, and c with numbers. And that's why I write them right here, so I can easily substitute in. All right, let's shrink it down a little bit. -1 plus or minus the square root all over 4. I'm going to type just that bottom part in, just the part underneath the radical, the radicand. 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is -21. Make sure it matches what's underneath there. No square root. 169. You might be saying, well, I don't know if it's a perfect square. Well, check. Second x squared. Second x squared. You can just hit the up arrow and hit enter, or type 169 in. Doesn't matter. 13. It is. So when I split it up, I'm going to have x equals -1 plus 13 over 4. And then I'm going to have -1 minus 13 over 4. This will end up being 12 divided by 4, which is 3. This one's going to be negative 14 divided by 4, or again, just type it in. Alpha y equals, you should be getting used to using this calculator by now, negative 1 minus 13. All over 4, it'll simplify it for you, negative 7/2. If you divided, you probably got negative 3.5. Either one is fine. All right, last one. See if you can set it up. 1 is our A. B is negative 4. And C is negative 12. Get those signs in there. All right, x equals negative b, and b's already negative. So if I do negative 4, it's going to be just 4. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. Any negative needs to go in parentheses. Minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 12. It looks like negative 121, but it's negative 12. All divided by 2 times a, 2 times 1. Again, if you want, type it in your calculator, see what you got. You don't have to wait for me. You can fast forward to see if you got the right answer. Okay, negative 4 in parentheses, then squared, minus 4 times 1 times negative 12. 64, awesome. And if you do the square root of 64, we get 8. Good one. So when we split it up, we're going to have x equals 4 plus 8 divided by 2. Or we're going to have x equals 4 minus 8 divided by 2. Each time I'm just following this path. Take the high road first. 4 plus 8 divided by 2. And then the low road, 4 minus 8 divided by 2. So this you get 12 divided by 2, which is 6. Or just throw it in the calculator. This we get negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. And again, if I put that into the calculator, you would have actually seen those. So it would hit at negative 2 and 6. All right, so there's going to be more practice with this in the next lesson. So if you're still having a hard time, it's okay. We're going to get some more practice. It's important that you're doing this along with me. And if you don't have this paper, but you want to do it on just a blank sheet of paper, that the only thing you have to copy down is the equation. It's easier, and then you can just take a picture and send it to me. But if you have any questions, stop by the math lab or send me an email. Have a great day.